Hi, everybody. So, I'm doing my presentation on Ireland and the traditions that are held there on St. Patrick's Day. So, beginning with the history, St. Patrick's Day is the feast of St. Patrick, who is the patron saint of Ireland. He was born in Roman Britain in the late 4th century, and then he was kidnapped at age 16 and brought to Ireland as a slave. He then was able to escape but returned to Ireland, and he was credited with bringing Christianity to the people. The Roman Catholic feast day of St. Patrick has been observed since the 9th or 10th century. And the first St. Patrick's Day parade did not take place in Ireland, but in the United States. And it was on March 17th in 1762, where Irish soldiers serving in the English military decided to march through New York City. And it just helped many of the soldiers reconnect with their Irish roots. So St. Patrick's Day is a public holiday in the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador. It's widely celebrated in the UK, US, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, Australia, and New Zealand. So there's a few traditions that come along with St. Patrick's Day, and one of these traditions is obviously wearing green. And so traditionally, early pictures of St. Patrick showed him wearing blue. And the official color of the Order of St. Patrick was sky blue, known as St. Patrick's blue, but then they decided to replace it due to the fact that Ireland was known as the Emerald Isle. So then this then translates over to their Irish flag, where, as you can kind of see it on the woman wearing it in the bottom right picture, the green stripe in the flag plays a role for the Catholics of Ireland, the orange plays a role for the Protestant population, and then the white in the middle symbolizes the peace between the two. So then another one would have to be obviously the green shamrock, where you can also see people wearing it. And this was used by St. Patrick to teach people about the Holy Trinity. So the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then another one would just be leprechauns, who were originally said to wear red and gold jackets. And it was based off of the Irish Rebellion of 1798, where the Irish rebelled against the British soldiers who wore red and they wore green, and people began wearing green as a sign of solidarity. And now leprechauns are also seen strictly in the color green. And then there's the whole kind of long lost story that if you aren't wearing green on St. Patrick's Day, a leprechaun will pinch you because it's their favorite color. So then another tradition, and one that a lot of people think about when St. Patrick's Day comes along, is parades. So there's a ton of parades all throughout Ireland and the United States on St. Patrick's Day, and there were these four that I wanted to point out, which the first one is the Cork St. Patrick's Day Festival, which is from March 13th through 17th, and it is considered the Lord Mayor's Welcome. It has a bunch of different musical performances, a kids section with arts and crafts, an art gallery, festival market, and then they, of course, have a parade from 1 to 3 p.m. So then right below that is the Limerick St. Patrick's Day Festival, which is held from March 15th through 17th, and it also includes a parade. It has a Ferris wheel. This one has a horse race, a greyhound dog race, a food market, art exhibit, live music, all sorts of fun stuff. And then one that a lot of people, I think, would know is the Dublin St. Patrick's Day celebration, which is held at the Dublin Civic Centre. And it is 80,000 people, and it includes Irish entertainment, authentic food. It has 3 stages of music and dance. It has a 5K Shamrock fun run and walk, pop-up Irish tea cottages, 200 plus vendor booths, carnival games, all of those things. And then the last one, I can't really pronounce it. I think it's Armagh, and this is the longest one, and it's from March 6th through 17th. And throughout these days, they have different things like film screenings, theater shows, religious services, sunrise events, arts and crafts, lectures, concerts, local church series, things like that. So then, of course, there is the food and drink aspect of the holiday. And so a few of like the iconic kind of St. Patrick's Day dishes are corned beef, which is a salt-cured brisket or beef, and it comes from the treatment of meat with large-grained rock salt, which is called corn of salt. It was used originally as a substitute for bacon by a lot of Irish immigrants in the late 19th century, and what's interesting is they didn't originally really eat beef in Ireland at all. They kind of viewed the cow as a wealthy animal, and so they would eat dairy, but they would never like slaughter a cow. But then it kind of just became popular, and it was mainly because of the abundance of cows in Ireland, and then they started making corned beef because of the lower salt tax. And then corned beef is commonly paired with cabbage, which is a vegetable that farmers and the rural poor relied on a lot for food in Ireland. And this is due to the fact that it is nutrient dense and it grew well in Ireland. And another popular dish is Irish cabbage and bacon. And then, of course, there's shepherd's pie, which is usually a lot of people can mistake this and think that it's an English or Scottish dish, but it is actually Irish. And it just is made up of ground meat, cooked in gravy, onions, carrots, celery, and then with a mashed potato crust kind of thing on top. And then in the bottom right, there's Irish soda bread, which was created in the late 1830s when baking soda was originally introduced to the UK. And then they started making it in Ireland because they needed food and they wanted to use inexpensive ingredients, and that's what Irish soda bread is made up of. And then it results in this dense texture with a really hard crust, and then it's kind of sour. Sometimes I think people put olives or raisins in it or something. I'm not really sure. And then the last one is Guinness, of course, which is an iconic Irish beer. It was brewed in Dublin since 1759, and it's crafted using nitrogen gas and carbon dioxide, and it has a very distinct, bitter yet sweet, malty kind of taste. And then lastly, there are a lot of traditions that go on outside of Ireland on St. Patrick's Day. And this includes in Chicago, they dye the river green, the entire river, and that's been happening since 1962. In New York, they have the longest running civilian parade in the world, with 3 million spectators watching a parade of over 150,000 people. And that, like I said, has been going on since 1762. In England, Irish Guards are presented bowls of shamrock from the British Royals. That's been happening since 1901. In Russia, St. Patrick's Day festival with the Moscow government and the Irish embassy in Moscow happens. In Canada, they've been having a St. Patrick's Day parade since 1824. And a little more recently, Argentina, a party is held down the street where there's several Irish pubs. So St. Patrick's Day really is celebrated throughout the world, and I hope you enjoyed learning about all these traditions. Thanks.